Welcome everybody. So interesting show this evening. Stephen Reid, Republic of Ireland International, is leaving the world of football behind. He's going to focus on getting his qualifications in counselling. And we're going to chat to Stephen about his less than straightforward journey between 8 and 9 o'clock. We're looking forward to that conversation. So Stephen Reid with us at 8. He's now gone down the route of counselling as opposed to football management. The spectre of match fixing hangs over snooker in a big way just now. 7 players suspended pending the conclusion of an investigation. We will talk to the BBC's Shabnam Yunus-Jewell this hour. She'll explain all. And there is, of course, the small matter of a World Cup semi-final. Argentina-Croatia now underway. Dion Fanning with us right across the football show. 53106, the text number where you're at Off the Ball on Twitter. Richie McCormack, evening.
How are you, Joe?
Very well. Listeners, before we go any further, Ronan would like to make an announcement. A couple of months ago, he left Off the Ball to go and work for the Hard Shoulder. Him and I have met for coffee several times. He hates it. Doesn't enjoy it. Doesn't like the people he works with in particular, he said. They're just not for him. So, live on air, he is announcing his candidacy to return to the next available Off the Ball position. Ronan, I've said too much.
Jeez, you really put me in a difficult position there, Joe. It's
how you doing?
It's going more than swimmingly on the hard shoulder, I'd say.
Love the people you work with.
From my vantage point, it'd be interesting if we took that straw poll outside and see what they think.
Yeah.
But
if members of the Hard Shoulder could tweet me anonymously and let me know how Ronan's going, I could read them out on air.
Well, listen, I think there's been an uptick in sports coverage, I would say, in the last little while.
2 to 3 items per day now, is it?
Irreverent sitcom references from the 1990s, that kind of thing. But, the usual shtick.
How is life on the political beat then, Ronan?
That's good. It's much like not to get into the machinations of it too much, but like it's the same kind of process. It's just different subject matter. So like, kind of coming at stuff the same way, and much like the sports world, the political world, and all that comes with that, and all that it entails, never stops. So it's busy enough.
I've worked on both as well. It's generally a lot of the same, as you said, routines whereby everybody's talking about the same thing. It's like, how can we do it a bit differently?
Yeah, and that would have been kind of bullet point number 1 from when I got into Off the Ball as well. It was like, we'd be talking about matches from Sunday that Matches Day covered nearly 24 hours ago. It's like appreciably, like the thing has to change a little bit. So it's going well, and it's a bit strange being back. It's like it reminds me of when, remember Beyonce did the Super Bowl and got Destiny's Child back together. It's like the dance moves were a little bit out of sync for the first few numbers, but I think me, you and Richie can by the end of this news round, I think we'll be.
Are you trying to say you're the Beyonce of this thing?
No, well, you're clearly the Beyonce, Joe.
Richie.
I'll take Kelly Rowland.
Oh, come on,
Richie, you're the other one.
The other one. Oh, Jesus.
What is the other one?
Harsh.
Oh, come on. This is harsh.
Sorry.
This is harsh now. If Michelle is listening, he said.
Michelle,
yeah.
Okay.
She's mad into her Christian albums, so I don't know how that tallies with me either.
Well, not well, I would say.
No, not really. No.
So give us Ronan Mullen's broad take before we get into NEWSROUND on World Cup 22.
Well, like much like everybody else, you only see what you're permitted to see, as in, the schedule has been a dream in the sense that there's games on all day, but for half the day most people don't see at least 50% of the games. But from what I have seen, it took a little while to get going, but the quality of football has been really high, and I'd say it's no coincidence that, and I'm sure you've covered it ad nauseum, but the fact that it's mid-season, it's not the end of a long, laborious churn for these players. Like, we look at through the England lens, and I know a lot of players a lot of ex-players are making that point, that they got to World Cup, and as much as the headiness of it and the esteem of being selected, all that kind of stuff will get you a certain way, you're running on fumes by the end of the group stages, and like that's true of all teams. It's survival of the fittest. But I think the quality of football has been really high, as is evidenced by the Croatia team, for example, with sporting a good few 30-plus-year-olds that have gone back-to-back extra times. And while they were wilting a little bit in those games, it's not as if they look any worse for it. So that'd be the number 1 point. And then Miguel Delaney has been one of the MVPs of the thing pre and during the tournament in terms of calling out, obviously, all that goes with the Qatar World Cup. But he wrote an interesting article about how identity in football has become a bit blurred, where most teams play the same kinds of football. I think he pegged it in a few different categories. But what always struck me about international football, especially in the last 2 tournaments, I don't know if club football has become so homogenous that at least international football brings with it that natural identity.
Yeah.
And it was borne out so beautifully by that Netherlands-Argentina game where, as much as there was a bit of spite there and niggle, that was an upshot of how much both teams wanted to win. It wasn't as if these came in with any preconceived animosity or anything like that. And I think that was just one small sample size of what's been great about this tournament on the field.
There was a correlation, I think, between Miguel's article and how the World Cup was played out. And that quote I remember Jack Charlton coming out with when he was asked about Ireland's style of play, and he said that he went to I think it was the 86 World Cup, because he was just installed in the February of that year, wasn't it? And he said that everybody played the same and everybody was playing out from the back and everybody was passing it. And even like watching the group stages, it struck me that this is a World Cup that was crying out for somebody to get it launched. As ugly as that would be, like genuinely, I think that one or two teams could have profited from doing that. And to an extent, some teams have benefited from sitting back a little bit and breaking on the counter and taking it from there. Morocco will be one of those. But like there is a certain homogenous nature to how football is being played on the international front that could do with a little bit of upsetting, I think, and could do with a little bit of a random force coming in and doing something a little bit different and shaking things up a bit, because like it is nice and it is pleasant, a lot of it, and it is, high quality, if you want to use those terms. But I don't know, maybe something a little bit more direct would be needed, because if you keep going down this path, then you're going to have diminishing returns all the way along. And I think we can probably do without that. So maybe we need a Charlton figure to come in after this World Cup, be it for Ireland or for somebody else, just to rattle a few cages, as the man says.
I think the defining aspect for me has just been the drama. From the final round of group stages, every single night was extraordinary. Last 16 was very, very good. And then the four quarterfinal games were off the charts. So the twists, the turns, I mean, the moment the Netherlands scored that free kick in the dying seconds, that's the loudest I've screamed. It was involuntary watching football. I wasn't out of joy. I wasn't up for the Netherlands or against Argentina. It was just,
for the moment,
the madness of the moment, the nature of the goal. It was completely involuntary. So I just think I'll remember the World Cup on the field. I mean, the whole thing is still a disgrace. I don't think we're getting away from that. But on the field, I think I'll remember it as a very dramatic World Cup.
That Argentina-Netherlands game, because it crystallises much of what you're talking about there, beyond just that one moment, but the way the Netherlands rallied back and Argentina were almost holding on. To Richie's point about the tactics, they obviously went very agricultural with their approach, and for some reason when they got it back to 2-2, like went away from that, and you're like,
Van Dijk went straight back into defence.
Yeah, because you're like, it was like a champion boxer in round 12. Argentina are hanging on, let's try and get to the final whistle here, final bell as it were. And then for rounds 13, 14, 15, Argentina played all the football and really, like, we're deserving winners ultimately. If you're going on the balance of play and going down to that quote unquote lottery of a penalty shootout, I think they were the more deserving team, and it'll be interesting to see if they can, obviously if Messi lifting that World Cup in Qatar, the ramifications of that, and that being the associated image of the tournament. Yeah. I think most people have mixed feelings about that, but at the same time, having followed his career well,
it would make it iconic if he wins this World Cup. 86 is iconic because of Maradona. If Messi wins, it makes it an iconic World Cup on the pitch. The opening 11 minutes between Argentina and Croatia, I know you're not watching it, I'm watching it and ignoring you. Croatia owning the ball. Croatia massively undervalued coming into this game. I mean, Argentina odds on, Croatia as, not to bring everything back to betting, I appreciate some people don't want to hear betting odds, but were as high as 3 and 4 to 1 to win this match in 90 minutes. That is crazy. That is crazy.
They've no goal scorer though, and that's the thing that I think is going to separate these two semi-finals, is that Argentina do have lads in Julian Alvarez and a couple others off the bench who can find the net for sure, and I think France obviously are the same with a certain K Mbappe and Olivier Giroud, if you want to factor him into that as well. Whereas the other two teams are very much, let's see what we can get out of these games. Let's see how long.
But 3 and 4 to 1.
I just think given the nature
2 horse race.
I think it is. In terms
Imagine
of
you and
how
Ronan
the tournament would be
were
viewed.
running the 100-metre sprint and I made you 4 to 1. You'd be outraged.
You'd be pretty annoyed with that.
It'd be pretty. It'd be 20, 25, 30 to 1. I think even in a 1-on-1
What are the
race.
odds on both not finishing?
All
right, sorry. We have to let's press
Stop
on
for a cup of tea in the middle.
So at the moment it's Argentina 33% and Croatia 54% possession. And then they now do that 13% contested, which is a new development in possession. Just give me the possession.
Yeah, please. Like, you'll remember the last World Cup where Croatia obviously did a number on Argentina, and one of my abiding off-the-ball memories, while we're on the subject, Joe, John Giles watching the game outside in between slots, and Modric, I think it's the Argentina game, sorry, correct me if I'm wrong, but Modric jinxed past an oncoming midfield player, closing him down, just smashes it into the bottom right corner. John Giles stands up and applauds.
Yeah.
I'm like, that was beautiful.
You know, he's still jinking by players, even at 4 years later. He's just been a joy. The Brazil game was extraordinary, genuinely. He was just off the charts. We got to press on. 14 minutes on the clock. Argentina 0, Croatia 0. The news round brought to you with Gillette Labs for an effortless finish to your day. And this is a record-breaking evening for Lionel Messi.
Well, record equaling, yeah. He's equalled Lothar Matthäus' record of 25 World Cup finals appearances. He could well set a new record if they reach the final. He started for Argentina in that semi with Croatia. The teams in full see Emi Martinez starting goal for Argentina. Back four of Nahuel Molina, Christian Romero, Nicolas Otamendi and Nicolas Tagliafico. In midfield, it's Rodrigo de Paul, Leandro Paredes, Enzo Fernandez and Alexis McAllister, with Messi in support of Julian Alvarez up front. Croatia unchanged from their semi-final or quarter-final victory on penalties over Brazil. So Dominik Livakovic, one of the star performers of the tournament, continues in goal. Back four of Josip Juranovic, Dejan Lovren, Josko Gvardiol and Borna Sosa. Luka Modric captains the side from midfield, with Marcelo Brozovic and Mateo Kovacic either side. Mario Pasalic, Andrej Kramaric and Ivan Perisic are their front three, while Dio Upamecano and Adrien Rabiot are doubts for France in tomorrow's semi-final with Morocco. Both players missed today's training session with cold-like symptoms. Upamecano also sat out yesterday's session, and he could well be replaced by Liverpool defender Ibrahima Konate.
Meanwhile, World Rugby this afternoon frantically organising a conference via Zoom and various other means.
Yeah, massive story this in the world of rugby. World Rugby's executive committee meeting this evening to discuss the future of their vice chairman Bernard Laporte. The president of the French Rugby Federation has been handed a 2-year suspended prison sentence, having been found guilty of various charges of corruption. Laporte has also been banned from rugby for the same length of time and fined €75,000. His lawyer Jean-Pierre Versini described the crux of the matter as a, quote, and earmuff this one if you need to, a bullshit contract that was signed at the wrong time while maintaining his client's innocence. Montpellier owner and France main sponsor Moed Altrad was given an 18-month suspended sentence and fined €55,000 for attempting to bribe Laporte. Laporte, though, will remain as FFR president until his planned appeal is seen through.
Yeah, big story for various reasons. We will get into the weeds of that tomorrow on Wednesday Night Rugby. Jay Thornley, I know, is going to be along, so we'll try and extract some of the meaning in all of this. Andy Dunn's going to be in tomorrow as well. So,
the GOAT.
Indeed. He has lowered himself to watching Champions Cup rugby this weekend in a bid to come on with us.
Well, like, it's his analysis, to be fair, it always seemed to preempt things, even whether he intended them to or not. Like, there was stuff he was saying a couple of years ago that has been sort of borne out. Not that he's proving to be or claiming to be the oracle or have a crystal ball, but he kind of he put his finger on a trend of the way rugby was going at a time when everybody thought it was going the other way. And the World Cup, and I suppose laterally the Lions Tour, which, let's not speak about that again.
Yeah,
I think he was proven right. So to get him talking rugby, any sort of rugby, Joe, is a good thing.
Yeah, for sure. And
do him and Jerry have any previous? Because they've turned out to be such a team.
I know. Well, they've only done it twice together. They've only done it twice together, but they instantly established themselves as a duo.
There's a natural chemistry there. There's a natural chemistry there. It's beautiful.
Game respects game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Have they got nicknames for each other yet?
I think that's maybe a fair point to raise tomorrow.
Well, Dunner is the obvious one.
Dunner. G&T?
G&T.
Yeah.
It's right there.
Yeah.
There's a podcast in it.
I'll raise that with them tomorrow and see. But yeah,
a G&T with Dunner.
That is tomorrow, so we'll dig into the Laporte situation. I presume World Rugby will have to say something after their meeting this afternoon. Meanwhile, Munster announced a raft of new contracts.
Yeah, doing plenty of business today. Andrew Conway, Jack Crowley and Jack O'Donoghue have all signed new 2-year deals with Munster. All three will remain with the province until at least the summer of 2025. However, John Ryan is leaving Munster for a second time at the end of his short-term deal next month. The prop was offered an extension, but he has decided to explore his options elsewhere.
17 minutes gone, still 0-0 between Argentina and Croatia. The stadium is 98% full of Argentinian fans. I guess that's been a big advantage for Argentina throughout this tournament, and definitely feels the case now. I can see a handful of Croatian jerseys, but no more. Same against Netherlands. There were like 200 in orange behind one of the goals, and that was about it.
Yeah, not that like we're putting the pom-poms on for a beautiful spectacle in Qatar, but like you'd like to think whomever's in the final, be it like one of the lesser supported teams like Croatia, versus I presume Morocco and France would bring.
What would Croatia Morocco be like?
Oh, here it is. Someone tweeted.
Well, it finished 0-0 early in the tournament.
Sorry, I've forgotten about that game.
If someone told you then this was a vaguely feasible final, you would have been surprised. But and Morocco have been incredible, and like Hakim Ziyech, like his story in a nutshell is quite interesting in that he'd fallen out of favour so massively with the previous coach who was bombed out like 100 days ago.
Yeah.
And he's obviously been the catalyst of the whole thing. And like I've seen him play once live, and I don't know if you ever had the experience of just having your whole opinion of a player changed on the basis of seeing them live once.
It does happen.
Because I was quite low to the touchline, and he was playing for Chelsea on the right wing, and he's not the quickest, but he always had time and space, and the reason for that is because he was so intelligent, took up the right positions, and you're like, so ever since then I'm like, this guy deserves to be on the world stage in a big way, and like there's no bigger way than tomorrow.
Yeah, it's funny how different environments can bring something out in a player, because he's definitely had a great tournament, there's no doubt. So more news from the Ulster defeat to Sale.
Yeah, the fallout from that humiliating loss continues for Ulster. Prop Andy Warwick has been cited for a dangerous tackle on Manu Tuilagi that took place during Sunday's game. Warwick wasn't punished at the time, and he'll face a disciplinary committee on Thursday. Ulster play host to defending champions La Rochelle on Saturday evening.
Andy Friend was talking today.
Certainly was, yeah. Connacht must plan without a host of players for Friday's Challenge Cup meeting away to Brive. Mac Hansen remains out with a leg injury, with the hope that he can return for next week's URC meeting with Ulster. Dylan Tierney-Martin is being assessed for an elbow problem, while Josh Murphy is following the return to play protocols. However, Connacht Director of Rugby Andy Friend says squad rotation has in fact worked in their favour so far this season.
It's certainly been a change from last year, and last year we didn't do anywhere near as much rotation, but that's working for us this year. I'll give Pete Wilkins a compliment there. He's managing that squad well. The way we work it is, Pete selects the team. He needs to show it to me, but he's got really good logic behind the way he's selecting that side at the moment, and most players are getting a chance. I said, whenever you announce a 23, there's always going to be, with a squad of 44, there's always going to be 21 blokes who aren't so happy, but it's well explained to them. Most are very, very aware that we are looking to give opportunity to everybody.
Now, Ross Munnelly, we salute you.
Yeah, indeed. Ross Munnelly says the time is right for him to quit inter-county football. The Arles Kilcrews clubman helped Laois win a Leinster title famously in 2003, having been given his debut that year by Mick O'Dwyer. Munnelly turns 40 next week and says that now is the right time to go.
40? He still comes in the office, looks about 28.
I know.
Disgusting.
And just the sheer breadth of that career, like my GA knowledge spans his entire career, as in he's been there ever since I've been watching it. So it's any of my Laois friends, he's always the reference point. Is Ross Munnelly coming back next year, kind of thing? And he's gone from being like the flash young thing in that. Like, I'm so glad he was in that phase of Leinster football where it was still a feasible thing for a county like Laois to win the championship.
Well, interestingly, with his retirement now, there is not a single active inter-county player outside of Dublin with a Leinster medal. He was the last one who was still playing, who wasn't from Dublin, who had a Leinster medal. So not a single player in Leinster outside of Dublin has a Leinster medal at the moment. Yeah,
because like we would have, as a family, we would have done trips within Ireland during the summers, and like you remember Westmeath winning Leinster as well, and just going through those counties and the
Kildare.
Well, listen,
come on,
the pageantry
of Kildare. The pageantry,
of course, the pageantry of Kildare.
But
like. That's
a long time ago.
Not to say it's non-existent, but you drive through those counties during the Leinster Championship now, you wouldn't even know there was a competition they were affiliated with.
Hope has been extinguished, I think it's unfortunately true to say.
Yeah, so like just a hell of a player, and like he would have shone for any county, and you know, regardless of levels or stratas within the game or that are being derived at the moment, he would have been in his prime. He would have been in the top tier. So hell of a career. Yeah,
to sustain 20 years, Richie. I mean, the mind boggles at that.
Yeah, I mean, even talking about the managers that he's been through, like to be like we you see stuff about Mick O'Dwyer now, and obviously he's very advanced in years, and he was still a manager and giving people like Ross his debut back in the early 2000s, and that's the breadth of the career that he's had. And like you say, preserved himself brilliantly, an absolute model of what an intercounty footballer should be, completely dedicated to his county, completely dedicated to his craft. To add to it as well, and not that it matters much, I guess, in the intercounty career, an absolute gent to deal with down through the years too. So anytime Ross has been in, it's always been a pleasure. So we wish him well in his post intercounty career, which I'm sure will still manage to be equally busy.
It'd be nice to think that he didn't preserve himself and wasn't very professional and just had incredible genes, but was hard drinking,
hell of a metabolism,
binge eating, just rock solid, couldn't be stopped.
Famously,
he's going to be like a Wesley Schneider type figure.
Yeah.
He's like a Wesley Schneider figure. As soon as he retires, it's like, right, where's the crisps?
Let's check in with him in 12 months. Let's just see.
Yeah. So, well, we must get him in for a chat. I'm sure he's got some amazing memories, so we'll try and do that in the next couple of days. Meanwhile, Neymar has stopped crying.
He has been acquitted of fraud and corruption over his transfer to Barcelona from Santos in 2013. The attacker, who's currently, of course, with Paris Saint-Germain, was accused of intentionally hiding the value of the deal. Brazilian company DIS believed it was owed more money due to being the partial owner at the time of player rights.
If that is the end of Neymar, what do we say of his Brazil career? Equaling Pele's goal-scoring record.
2013, is that right? Since the Santos transfer. Because he's one of the first players, Joe, I don't know if you had the same experience of like the player you knew all about before he arrived in real life. So Neymar was one of the ones that made good on that promise. So like there was obviously the Freddie Adu era. There was plenty of football manager players. People probably text in.
Carlison.
Yes.
Can you remember Carlison, the lad who could balance the thing on his nose like a seal?
That's the one.
But everyone thought he was going to be class.
So he's like Exhibit A, if I'm talking about, Joe. A guy who like nominally had the same talent as Neymar, was really nowhere close.
Yeah.
But Neymar, like, I kind of find it hard to really stick the boot into him because he's appointment viewing. And as a sports fan, that's what you want. Like, you will tune in if, say, it's a Champions League night and you're not too fussed on either game. If Neymar's playing in one of them, you're going to watch that one. Equally, international football, like, he brings the thing alive. Like, you were there in Brazil, and sure, he was, even as a baby back then, he was
incredibly irritating back then.
No, but the icon like had already been derived. Well, to what extent he's irritating, I think that's beyond doubt. Like, the Netflix documentary paints that picture pretty clearly. But like, I thought the game the other day was such a nailed on juxtaposition of the two sides of Neymar. Like, the goal was just wizardry of the highest order.
It really was. It was such brilliance. I found myself thinking, because I'm just all out on Neymar. I think he's everything that's wrong.
Yeah, but like
with a professional footballer. But with that goal, which was so brilliant, I did find myself thinking, on fairness, if that goal takes them past Croatia and he has another moment or two or three like that and powers Brazil to win a World Cup, I'm going to have to revisit my take on Neymar. So these are the margins, to be fair to him.
And you only had 10 minutes thinking like that before you realised he wasn't going to take a penalty because he wanted to wait to get all the glory.
Listen, I felt very comfortable then in my previous Neymar stance. All was confirmed with the penalty shootout.
But he's had moments like dotted through his career, like before he went to PSG when he eliminated them almost single-handedly.
Well, I mean, that night, that 4-4
extraordinary.
Or whatever. What was the score that night?
I think, did they win? Did they score 5 on the night?
Maybe was it 6-2 or something? I can't remember. Crazy. But I mean, when the ball came back to him and he hits that chip, just that ding to set up the goal. I mean, he is a gifted footballer.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean he's a footballer I have all that much respect for.
And that was like, in that Barcelona team, needless to say, a galaxy of stars. And for whatever reason, he was the one that came to the fore that night when they needed him most. And do you know, it's hard to, and like, again, we probably don't have time to cover it.
We don't
totally his entire career, but like, when you're on that path from such a young age, and the parameters are such that you know you're bound for superstardom, and there's everyone around you telling you likewise.
No, excuse you. And to be fair, his club career still remains to be fully written. If this is his Brazil career, To be fair to him, that was an amazing goal against Croatia. It's certainly it's not, you couldn't say he didn't deliver to some extent in this World Cup. And then the last World Cup, he was very unlucky with the timing of injury, so wasn't at full fitness. And obviously he was put out of the 2014 World Cup with injury. So to be fair to him, there has been a degree of bad luck about his World Cup experience.
There's a chance, it's possibly a slimmer chance than we would have thought, but by the next World Cup comes around, it's not quite 4 years.
I don't think he's professional enough.
No, true, but he might be slightly off Broadway figure by then, starting in the team, but the likes of Vinicius Jr. might have risen to a point of prominence where he's a complementary player, and that might be the vehicle to get him there if he has to accept, unlike Ronaldo, that his powers have waned. But sure, time will tell on that score.
Time will tell. We have the English Open. We are talking about snooker this hour, and it's fair to say the match fixing investigation is overshadowing things, but the English Open is progressing nonetheless.
It is, yeah. It's reached the first round proper. Well, it did, in fact, last night with a couple of ties, but generally today has been the day of first round action. And Mark Allen faces Dylan Emery of Wales this evening in Brentwood. Already today, there have been wins even for Mark Selby, Judd Trump, Neil Robertson, and Ding Junhui.
Bournemouth have new owners?
They do indeed, yeah. Black Knight Football Club, maybe the RT Purple fans, owned by American Bill Foley, have paid £100 million for the English South Coast club. Previous owner Maxime Deman had sold his 100% stake, having spent 11 years in charge of Bournemouth during that time, taking them back to the English top flight.
£100 million for Bournemouth? Is that quite good value when clubs are going for billions?
Yeah, it is good value. And I always wonder what is entailed in a transfer like this, because you'd think even the real estate, I know Bournemouth's not the most glamorous stadium.
You'd have to do a job in the stadium, and maybe the stadium is small because the fan base in the area.
The location's not too bad either. It's
just 100 million in comparison with what was Chelsea?
It's a Premier League
2
club.
billion, 3 billion?
3 billion,
yeah. I think we could have got together. We could have come up with 100 million.
Remember Aston Villa? Aston Villa were floating around on the market there a couple of years ago when there was a real fire sale. And it was literally you'd buy Matt Target for less.
Yeah. Maybe there is just a colossal drop off after the super clubs, perhaps. Maybe the super clubs increase in value, whereas those lesser clubs like Bournemouth, it's a kind of how do you make a small fortune, start with a big fortune and buy Bournemouth, that kind of it's going to take all your money. Well, I don't know. It's just curious. I thought 100 million seemed reasonable in the context of football clubs. We are pretty much done. Richie, give me a score prediction. What are we saying?
I think we're going the distance with this one.
And
I don't think it'll be much. I think 1-1 tops, but I won't be surprised if it's goalless.
Me neither. And who are you backing on penalties? Croatia.
If it gets to penalties, I'm backing Croatia, if I'm being honest. Yeah. The goalkeeper's just too much of a factor in that.
Their technique's just too good. Take them all day, I won't miss. What are you saying?
I think Argentina will get the job done in a game where Croatia dominate the ball. I think they have more moments, players, and these semi-finals are typically so conservative that it will take a bit of ingenuity, and I think Argentina just have more individuals.
Well, we'll see how it plays out. 30 minutes gone. It's still 0-0. Croatia dominating possession. I would say no gilt-edged chances just yet. Richie, go and watch it. Enjoy. Thank you very much.
Cheers, lads.
Ronan Mullen, farewell to the hard shoulder. Welcome back to Off the Ball. No, thank you for filling in.
It's been a pleasure.
Short notice. Thank you.
All you need for Christmas.
News Talk's Christmas Cash Machine.
Now, we had another winner this afternoon, so we're going to reload the cash machine. The new number is 52,800.